This morning's guest is making dollars and cents out of our local economy. Who is he? You'll meet him coming up next on Carolina People. Happy Thanksgiving and good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Conference Center on the Grand Strand campus of Horry Georgetown Technical College. We're focused on the local economy, and we're visiting with a research economist with the BB&T Center for Economic and Community Development, Don Schunk.
That's right.
Good morning, Don. It is Schunk.
That's right. Schunk.
S-C-H-U-N-K.
That's exactly right. Yeah, a lot of folks have problems with that.
Do you ever go by Donald, or is it Don?
Don is good.
Don is good. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in on Thanksgiving
Yeah, it's
morning.
a pleasure to be here.
Surprised that Horry Georgetown Tech actually let us in here.
Yeah, on Thanksgiving.
To film today. I'm sure you've got a crazy morning. Get ready. What are your plans today?
Well, you know, it's all the usual stuff. We've got the full meal going. The turkey will be getting in pretty soon. I'm probably in charge of that.
Are you the big cheese
I'm
there
usually
today?
in charge of the turkey. That's right. I've got my wife and our 4 kids going to be enjoying the day, and my parents are going to be coming over. They live here along the coast.
Your parents live down here?
They do in the winter. That's right.
Great.
They're in Minnesota half the year, and they're down in Garden City half the year.
That's
so
fantastic.
They're going to be coming over, and we'll do our usual sort of our tradition is to do the full menu, and then take the kids out for a movie later.
That's great. Absolutely. Yeah. That's our Christmas tradition. I'm glad you all do that on Thanksgiving. Yeah, That's wonderful.
Right. Try to beat the crowds.
Did you say you've got 4 kids?
We do.
Wow.
Yeah.
You all have 4 kids.
Right.
That's
all
fantastic.
under 10 years old.
Golly, you are busy. How do you have time to be a research economist?
You know, there's not much spare time.
Yeah.
You know, between doing the work I do, doing the research, and going out and giving talks to various kinds of community groups around the state. You know, spend a lot of time driving, burn up a lot of miles, and get home and spend time with the family. There's not much left over.
And you actually travel the state, you said. I mean, you travel around on behalf of the BB&T Center for Economic and Community Development. That's a big.
It is big. I know.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, I mean that's really a huge part of sort of what I do, and why Coastal decided to form this research economist position within the center there. This is a new position. I'm the first one to have that
just
position.
Joined here.
I started about a year ago in January.
Right.
And really a major piece, sort of the major line in the job description is to serve as a sort of a liaison between what's going on at Coastal, in the business school in particular, and with the broader business community and various kinds of community groups locally, but also statewide.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And the reception's been good when you travel around. It's not doom and gloom. You're
that's
pretty upbeat about.
I tend to be pretty optimistic. I've been in the state 8 to 9 years working at the University of South Carolina for quite a while. So I know a lot of folks around Columbia and throughout the upstate and into the Aiken area, and I moved from Columbia to Myrtle Beach, but it turns out they figured out how to get a hold of me. So I've spent the last few months I've been probably about 2 times a week driving around, giving everyone wants to know what the economy looks like next year. I mean, this is the perfect time of year for industry groups and community groups, Rotary clubs, whatever the case is, to get together and sort of look at sort of like we're going to talk about today, what's coming down the road in terms of the economy. Everyone wants to know that in the fall. So it's always a busy time of year.
You're feeling good, Don, about 2008. I know, as you said, you're normally optimistic.
Right.
Has there been a time in life where you were pessimistic?
Well, there was, when I first, I came through the system. I got my PhD and got my first job doing this kind of stuff at a very unusual time. I got my PhD in 1999 from Tennessee. And I took the job at the University of South Carolina in the Moore School of Business in the summer of 1999.
Right.
So I came in and fresh out of graduate school, sort of taking over the forecasting duties, trying to track the economy, try to figure out what's coming over the next few months and next few quarters. At a time when if you think back to 1999. Early 2000, we had an economy that was booming. We had a stock market that was booming, and then very quickly, things started to drop. We had the burst of a bubble in the stock market, in NASDAQ in particular. We started sliding into a recession pretty quickly. So I was really sort of thrown into the fire. So, I came out and was my first job at economic forecasting and doing this kind of work was at a time when things were deteriorating pretty quickly. So it was a good introduction, I think, for me to sort of the realities of, going from being a grad student, working on a PhD, sitting, writing a dissertation, doing all that kind of stuff, and then getting out in the real world and seeing, sort of what's really going on. So, since that time, I feel like I have developed, a bit of a sense of, when things are looking really bad for the economy, and when things, I think we're in a period right now, locally, statewide, whatever you want to talk about, where there's a lot of uncertainty around the economy. Housing market is looking rough and all of those kinds of things. But generally speaking, we have a pretty strong economy, pretty resilient economy that keeps bouncing back.
So even coming out of your doctorate there at University of Tennessee, you were even though we were hitting a tough time, you were optimistic.
I was
upbeat. We're going to come out of that.
Yeah, that's right. That's
this is your nature, which is great. I'm not trying to take anything away from exactly.
That is my nature. It clearly is my nature. And the folks around the state that have sort of been getting used to over the last 8 years to seeing me give presentations or whatever on the economic outlook. I think I've sort of built up that reputation. A lot of times economists can be a fairly dismal lot.
Bland and
economics
dismal
is the dismal science. We talk about. Economists love to talk about how rough things are and so on. But part of my nature is to sort of find those bright spots out there, those reasons to be optimistic for what's. I mean, you want to be realistic.
Yes, of course.
But if possible, be a little optimistic.
Yes,
too.
I think being optimistic can hopefully help uplift things even to a degree.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Very important. You miss Minnesota at all?
Well, for the first few years, when we were out of Minnesota, we missed it. And we'd go back, spend a couple weeks there at Christmas, to get the snow and to get the cold and all of that. So we were in Tennessee, then we moved to Columbia, now moving to Myrtle Beach. You can see the trend, right? We're getting farther and farther away, getting warmer and warmer.
Oh yeah.
So we miss the family. My wife and I are both from Minnesota. The family generally is still in Minnesota. But we don't miss the weather.
Is your wife an economist as well?
No, she's not. She has a degree, a bachelor's degree in applied psychology from the school that we both went to in northern Minnesota for our undergraduate degrees. But right now, she's
got four. You all have four children. That's right. You said 3, 5, 8, and 10.
Yeah, that's right.
Boy, girl, and boy. That's
right.
amazing.
It's exciting times right
now. That is.
Sure.
Absolutely. And today's a big day again. Thanks for getting out, to breaking out for a little bit. Of course, when you think about how do you go about compiling things, let's say for a region. Of course, most of our viewers are in the PD and southeastern North Carolina, but let's say just focusing down on this area, the Horry, Georgetown area. I know obviously traveling the state and you're very interested in the entire South Carolina economy. Right. But let's say focusing on this area. How do you go about compiling information, or how does the BB&T Center there for Community Center for Economic and Community Development get all of its materials together?
Well, the first thing you need to do is sit down and sort of think about, what is it that we, myself and the center, what are we interested in? We're interested in trying to understand ourselves and help people understand what drives our local economy. What determines how many job opportunities there's going to be locally. What determines what kind of wages those workers can see. What determines the likelihood that you're going to be able to sell a house along the Grand Strand. Sort of what drives local economic development and economic growth in the Myrtle Beach area. So then you step back and you say, well, we know some things about this area. In particular, we know tourism is a huge driver. I mean, we all talk about tourism so much, but it's for good reason. When you look at the makeup of our economy, what dictates our economy, our economic performance, especially over sort of a short period of time, it swings in tourism. It swings in what's happening with gas prices and how that influences people's travel plans and how much they spend once they get here and all of those kinds of things. So for this economy, And it's very different from when, Columbia, or if you live in Greenville, trying to figure out the Greenville economy. It's very different.
Right.
Here,
markedly different.
That's
yes.
right. Here, you look at tourism, you try to figure out, how many folks locally are working in tourism-related jobs, how many businesses are there because of tourism, how much are people spending when they vacation here, and so you really sort of focus on that. Now, I'm not a tourism economist. I'm not an expert in tourism.
Right.
I'm here because I think I have an understanding of sort of what drives local economies and what sort of determines more broadly economic conditions.
Right.
Here, largely it's tourism.
Even for folks who obviously we think in the newspaper business, we're not dependent on tourism, but of course we are.
You are. That's right.
We are. We're dependent on people, the tourism continuing to maintain jobs in the area so that businesses can afford to advertise, to bring people in, so that they can actually. Folks have to have jobs to be able to have enough money to come in and support the businesses. So,
and then there's also this tremendous link between tourism and population growth.
Right.
And taken together, I mean, you look at us, for example. We were living in Columbia for 7-8 years.
Right.
The opportunity came to consider moving to the beach, and you start looking around at all of the amenities that are here.
Oh, yeah.
All of the full range of not just tourism, restaurants and hotels and attractions, but the full range of other businesses that have sprouted up along the coast here, relatively recently. We have an area that's driven by tourism, but that feeds into non-tourism and other kinds of service sectors, and that makes it an attractive area for population growth.
Absolutely. Great point. Real estate being one of those principal drivers for so long. The tourism, maybe not, but surely the people coming down here to find they love the area and then making it their second home or even their primary residence.
Well, that's right. That's right. And it really just sort of keeps feeding off of each other. I mean, when you have an area like Myrtle Beach and all the way down the coast, all the way down to Hilton Head, when you have an area that's sort of based largely on tourism, maybe starts off as a tourist destination, but it really can develop and grow into something beyond just that. A real attraction, not just for tourism-related industries, but also I think we're at the leading edge of seeing the Grand Strand sort of diversify and develop into something that it has never been, which is a much more diversified economy.
And obviously your position, you highlight something that had never been. The BB&T Center recognizing they needed a local research economist, someone who could really get into the community. That's a great testament to Coastal Federal formerly and now BB&T looking into the future and saying Coastal Carolina and the entire Horry Georgetown community, Marion community writ large needed someone to be able to be here on the scene, even though you're traveling around the state.
Right, that's right. And I think what really impressed me, living in Columbia, working at USC, which is a fantastic institution, of course, but what really impressed me about Coastal Carolina was the real commitment, to a vision, which is to be an excellent provider of course, undergraduate and growing into the graduate realm of education, but also to really commit to providing a lot of valuable community services. And I know that from my time at USC, that's what I really enjoyed doing was getting out and working with the broader community and trying to provide some useful information for them. And it was clear that that's what Coastal was looking for.
Absolutely. It was a great quote of Governor Sanford's last, I guess it was January of 2006, exactly, in his State of the State address there, highlighting some of the tremendous growth, our labor force growing by 45,000 last year. I guess at that point it would have been 2005. But to see that kind of growth and the impact, you gave a great example about folks leaving, let's say, Michigan and moving down here, getting their U-Haul, their rental truck, and coming on down, and drives home the fact that their unemployment rates then reduce and our unemployment rates would go up. But the long-term picture, I mean, that's on the short term, because we'd have more people coming in and they didn't yet find jobs. But on the long-term picture, it's a great thing.